Welcome to Indianapolis in the GT3. Today we're going to be rocking the Porsche, a car we haven't driven really much of at all. Thought it was a little bit sketchy and the understeer wasn't all that helpful, to be quite honest, but fiddling around with the tune, getting everything right, and we're pretty much there with the Porsche. Besides a little bit every now and again tail end happiness, is actually a relatively good car overall, and you can kind of manage the understeer from it by manipulating the throttle and the gears as well, and we'll come to that a little bit later on in the video. As you're going through turns 2, 3 and out the other side, there is a lot going on here and everybody's pretty much trying to find their feet. This is a long race, so there's plenty of time to settle down, get a rhythm, get your positions, and away we go. And do you know what else is absolutely amazing? I think this is the first race in a very long time that the definition of the sunset was used correctly in this game. Right now you can see the sun is setting, and during the course of the race it gets darker and darker. The only thing it doesn't do is get dizzier and dizzier like that Porsche driver is at the moment. Credit where credit's due. I've never seen a car spin around so much. Thank you, Aston Martin, for using me as your brake. You know, there are braking reference points, racing lines that will assist you in activating that left-hand pedal to use to slow your car down. But, you know, if you really like the livery in this car, I can understand it's the base spec and you can view it anytime you like. Coming out for the start of lap 2, position 1 is already rocking a 1.5 second penalty. Catching up to Tony I. Maguire's up ahead, braking into the first corner here. Still a lot to behold and going on up ahead. Everybody's still trying to figure themselves out as we turn into a very expensive lawnmower. That's actually a perfect name for the Aston Martin who's using me as a brake. Outlaw Psycho. Psycho by name, psycho by nature. Another thing that's quite interesting is that Porsche has also become a very expensive lawnmower, and this one's already green. Nothing like rejoining the track and having the whole width of this road and must get back onto that racing line. The mind boggles at people that really have that mentality. Now, ZT44B, okay, that explains quite a bit. Unique name introduces unique way of rejoining the racing line of a track. Overtaking this Aston Martin to our left side, having a much better run as they come out of being Casper the Ghost, braking at 10 to the left hand side. Probably should have braked a little bit harder because they get the ultimate cutback. Actually, I lose 2 positions from said ultimate comeback. Not ideal. Side by side with the unique named Porsche on the right side, and as well they get a much better run. They're on the grippier part of the track, as well as we have to surrender to make sure we don't go on the grass as we rejoin this stretch here, as you would just get a penalty, and the system is really unforgiving in that section of the course. Breaking down for the first corner of lap 3, the Aston Martin and the unique named Porsche end up having a bit of contact. Ourselves, capitalizing upon said situation, managed to recuperate the 2 positions we lost. But we are under fire as you come down this straight here. They're going to have the slipstream. Whether they're going to be able to use it to their advantage or not, only we will find out as we brake in a moment. Does it look like they're actually having that much of a slipstream buff from us, to be fair? And we're braking just a tad early to make sure that we don't get rear-ended off to oblivion. And that really put the Aston Martin into a situation that they couldn't really understand, and the Porsche pretty much delivered that final blow. It wasn't until lap 6 that said green Porsche was able to take that position away from us. Now the strategy here really is we're running hard tyres, going to stop halfway through at lap 11 and then pick up another set of hard tyres. Indianapolis is not all that forgiving on tyres, and as well as this being rear-engined, rear-wheel drive, it will be a tyre-hungry monster. Although at the moment the balance is quite even, 76% wear on the front, 76% wear at the rear, and by lap 7 we lost another place to a Bentley to our left hand side. Again, green seems to be the colour in this race. Bentley is an absolute brilliant car to drive, and it was so difficult not to choose that one. And in the way of not choosing that one, we decided to go for a car that I have not driven at all whatsoever. Besides the Audi R8, I think that's the least driven car I've actually driven. I think that's still on level 1. If you want me to drive that car, you're going to have to let me know down in the comments below. We'll take it out for a spin. Quite interesting, really, because we're in lap 9 out of 21, and many of the drivers are in the pits already. One would assume that they're going to have to pit twice for this race, at least. We have lost quite a bit of ground to that green Porsche up ahead. No harm, no foul. We're only halfway through this race, and by the time we come out of the pits to the other side, we actually are in position 9. Although Outlaw Psycho, which was the Aston Martin, is in position 1, just entered the pits themselves. That could mean they're probably going to go for another set of hard tyres, while we have a fresh set of hard tyres right now. The Porsche up ahead is almost 9 seconds away. It's not really all that good, let's be honest. Time is creeping away from us, but we all have a different strategy in this race. Oh, speaking of the green Porsche up ahead, they had a mistake. We're right behind them. Look at that. This is what I say. Anything can happen in a race like this. And while, yes, we could have been quicker a little bit overall, one mistake, although 8 seconds away, is that detrimental. That whole time gap has been eradicated. Absolutely insane. Like, as long as we don't get held up by said Porsche up ahead, maybe their tyres are goosed, do not know. But we're going to use the ability of that Porsche up ahead to gain a bit of slipstream, try and get away from Matty Combo behind us. Again, they'll be slowly reeling that gap in, inch by inch, mile by mile. And I think it's going to be a trio of Porsches. It's a very popular car in this race. There was a position that I could have gained from there, attacked on that Porsche. But you know what? In the infinite wisdom of this situation, I'm going to let Matty Combo battle with that green Porsche, because I've seen other people battle with that green Porsche and lost. So knowledge is power, and as long as we can keep up with Matty Combo or that green Porsche, if them two start heavily battling with each other and the green Porsche isn't a fan of that, or Matty Combo might also not be a fan of that, we will have to capitalize on said situation. And by lap 19, well, not much has changed, to be fair. We're still in this trio of Porsches, but Europa 1845 has started to close the gap upon us. This is where things are going to have to start changing. We're going to have to start making a move on Matty Combo up ahead and try and close the door on that Porsche up ahead. We don't need to introduce further cars into this situation because, well, choice was taken away from us by lap 20. Wasn't able to overtake Matty Combo, but the Bentley did eventually start catching us up, and as you can see, did manage to do an overtake. Although Annual Atono 13 behind is rocking a 1.8 second penalty, again in the Bentley. What a choice of car. A car that I think should have chose ourselves. I may have got a better finish to this race, but what a jump that was. Got a lovely bit of air and overtook Matty Combo. Just need to try and make sure we don't lose too much time away from Europa and Antonio up ahead. They are rocking a 1 second penalty and we are 2.5 seconds away. A few more corners to go though. The Porsche may end up blocking them or defending, shall we say. That will be our aim, to close that door. Europa 1.5 seconds away, 1 second penalty. Matty Combo is not behind us anymore. We're not under pressure from anybody behind. 1 second away from Europa up ahead. They did a drift at the end of the track. Did we gain that position? Because it clicked to 1 second as we crossed that line. Look at that. Oh my gosh, look at the time. 0.002 second difference. I bet they're screaming at that. We're going to head over to Bathurst, where this race is very, very different. I don't think any car, besides ourselves and other people, got away without a penalty. It is absolute violent cluster. Yeah, it really, really was. And we're going to use a lawn to gain a few places here. We lost a couple overall. We started in P7, now we're down to P12. Not ideal. But turn 1 is always a little bit dicey as everybody comes together, and rather than turning into a nice long train, it turns into survival of the fittest. Losing position to a Mustang who does Mustang things by drifting, overtaking the Aston Martin to our left and gets sandwiched by another Mustang to our right hand side. Although Dio Forza, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, not impressed by said situation, closes the doors with a door as we start climbing up the mountain. I think we're going to get a double overtake on the pancake in the BMW. Look at that. They braked and two of us managed to capitalize upon that. Going to keep up the Aston Martin up ahead. While we did lose a few places. Things are going to start settling down as we go down the mountain. I think with the cars up in front, maybe a few crashes as we go through this section here. Doesn't seem to be. Well, besides the Aston Martin and the Mustang up in front meeting the wall, which ultimately slowed them down, everybody's come out pretty okay. Morris, do you mind? It is a braking zone. Oh, there's a few victims in the wall there. A few positions gained. Morris, you've got to understand, braking is not by using the car ahead of you, it's by using a pedal. Dow Fowler 0.6 seconds ahead. We're going to use a bit of slipstream, capitalize upon them. They are also chasing down a Mustang too wide through that corner there. Mustang held on for dear life. How lucky was that? Wow, that was a dive bomb right there. Just see the in the rearview mirror, dear me. Oh well, at least we weren't victim to that one, because that would have been a little bit messy. Oops, sorry about that. A little bit of rear end happiness and a double overtake in our hands. I don't think the Aston Martin's going to let it be though. Going to brake on the right hand side, close that door with a door again, but we take that position away, get a much better exit. Again, we are in the Porsche for this race, but no replay was saved because, you know, Forza just can't fix it. And it makes your mind boggle how a game released in 2023 with a team or a company that's been developing games for as long as they have cannot get a simple tool like replays to work. But I digress, move on. I understand this game is no longer receiving updates, but replays are kind of crucial, you know, it's part of racing. You'd love to watch a replay of a race you've just had a great time at, things like that. But move on, Flash. And moving on means we're going to catch up to this Lexus up ahead. Porsche still keeping us under a lot of pressure here, and we have made a few adjustments to this car. So we move the brake bias a little bit more off the rear to the front, kiss of the grass, and I do a 360. Pull it off, face the right direction. Looked awesome doing it. And it did take us to the end of this lap to catch up to said Lexus up ahead, although everybody else has managed to capitalize upon that, so we're now 3 places down. But at least we look good doing it. 360, pulled it off, facing the right way. What's the chances of that? Now, Lexus has gone very deep in that corner, going to capitalize upon that. Right behind Rogers Miller up in front, rocking, again, a lovely Porsche. Actually, we're going to be in the slipstream here. The way this car is flying. Yeah, I don't really have much downforce on the rear of this thing. I think it's literally like minimal. So, you know, top speed is a good thing in this car. Now, where are we going to be able to make a move on this Porsche? This is not an ideal place. They're going to dive in just like that. Yep, lovely livery on that car. While we're all still quite heavily bunched up together, I think going up this mountain, things may well get a little bit spicy. We have the Porsche up ahead, a Mustang, then the Aston Martin, and a couple of cars ahead of that. Now, we are losing a little bit of ground, but we have an ace in our sleeve. We are rocking medium tyres. I know, still a long race, but medium tyres, one stop, another set of medium tyres, does work here. And what did I say? Going down the mountain. Usually everybody falls down the mountain. And we have gained a position. And the Aston Martin's just ahead, who managed to hit the wall. Give him a little kiss up behind. Get going, buddy. We're going to see if we can work with the Aston Martin up ahead. They are a little bit off pace to the cars in front of them. So, do you know what? We're going to give them a little bit of a speed boost. There's no point trying to overtake. Might as well work with somebody and use one's car's ability to perform a train and be a little bit quicker. Braking at the 150 board, down to third gear. We have a trio of cars up ahead. So we have the Mustang leading this trio, then the Porsche, than the Aston Martin. Oh, we are 2 seconds up on our best lap up to now. Can't grumble at that. Oh, that Mustang went a little bit deeper and started doing Mustang things. Either way, position has been gained. Now, wow, didn't realise that. The car up in front in the Aston Martin has a 4-second penalty. And do you know what? Surprising at this moment here, the Porsche gives us the run. So thank you ever so much for Miller for that one, because they cut off the Aston Martin and gave us the run. So credit where credit is due. Miller, awesome, my friend, absolutely awesome. And I don't think the Aston Martin was best pleased about that. So we're going to hold it tight and we're going to play a little bit naughty here. I'm going to try and keep them two pitching and battling at each other. So we're going to go a little bit slow into this section here, and the Porsche and the Aston Martin are going to start tripping all over each other, and that's what we need. We need the cars behind to keep battling while we get away. There is method to the madness, and it didn't work out because I think the Porsche is a lot further away from the Aston Martin by the looks of that mirror. Not ideal. But, you know, there was a thought in there, and I guess the thought that counts. Oh, look at that. Well, you know, if you can't stay on one side of the track, you might as well go to the other. Braking as we fall down the mountain, hit the wall. The Aston Martin also hit the wall. Nearly took our back end off there. Not ideal, but, you know, they have now a 1.2 second gap from behind us. Flash, there's a wall there. At least it didn't suck us in and grab us off. That sounded wrong. Anyway, overtaking the Porsche here. Lovely bit of undercut. What a beautiful move that was. And guess what? They also closed the door on the Aston Martin behind, so we're going to be able to get away from that. Oh, wow. Timothy has a 5.25 second penalty. Wow, that is quite the penalty, my friend. And Flash, if you got the turn. At least we don't get a penalty for that one. One thing you can do there, and it's kind of naughty, because you're braking, the AI system thinks you're losing time, so you can kind of cut it, right? As long as you're braking as you're going through the cut, because it thinks you're braking, so you're losing time. And it doesn't penalise you for it, and that's sometimes the way that we can bend the rules a little bit here and there. Although if you do a very large cut, you will still get hammered regardless, but a little bit off the track and a little bit of time gained, the system doesn't really understand that. Oh, a little bit kiss from behind from the Forza. Do you mind, sir? We don't need to be rear-ended. And it does upset the car ever so slightly. Oh, you know, okay, you're staying committed to keeping your throttle on. Okay, well, that's rear-ended twice. Do you know what? If you're that desperate for the position, you take it. Flash, turn, 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 turn. Overcompensated. Could be one of the more frustrating things about the top of the mountain there, because you go into the gravel, it slows you down. Go on the grass, you have no control, and you're sliding because it's made out of ice. So you're literally fighting two elements that are fighting you. Not easy. Not easy whatsoever. But we haven't lost too much. We lost 2 positions, and don't forget the Aston Martin's rocking that 4-second penalty. We're going to try and claim this position back from the McLaren, and also claim that position back from the Aston Martin, because while yes, they are rocking that 4-second penalty, we still want that position anyway. So we was ahead before, we're going to be ahead after. Now the rear tyres have just clicked onto minor wear, so it's going to be a little bit sketchy. Surprisingly, the fronts are in really good condition, so I can't grumble at that. It's kind of weird because the last race, besides a little bit of a setup change of the brake bias, you know, they were more evened out. With this race, not so much. Yeah, don't understand it. I put the brake bias more to the front wheels, so you wouldn't think that the front wheels have to work more. But it doesn't seem to be the case. You know, they're in still pretty good condition. And to be fair, even though the rear tyres are on minor wear, it's not really upsetting the car too much, which is quite nice. 0.8 seconds away from position 3 up in front. One car separates us from podium position, and the car behind being 1.1 second away, we are not under any pressure from them at the moment. But now is our time to go into the pits and get a fresh set of medium tyres. Someone's took down a 150 board there. That was close to almost rear-ending the Aston Martin up ahead. But what we can do is give him a little bit of a speed boost. There you go, my friend. Oh, you're going into the pits as well. He did not let off that throttle, did he? Oh, look at that. There was another crash victim in the wall. Top Dog 98 also fell victim to Bathurst pit entry. You got to be really careful there. You got to slow down for it and kind of slow down, turn a little bit and just nail it in between the gap. And it usually works off pretty well. Nailing it as you go down the slip road is not the way to do it, as the Aston Martin proved their point. And coming to the race end, although a few crashes later, the Forza has managed to close that gap behind us. They were 11 seconds away as we entered the pits. Now they're 0.5 seconds away. The rear tyres fell off the cliff a little bit earlier than expected. But we did keep a consistent lap time. We've done our new best of a 206.027. And besides that one crash that lost us a lot of that time, we do finish this race off in position 2. Absolutely brilliant. And do you know what? I got a feeling there's hardly anybody left at the end of this race either. Yeah, look at that. Half the lobby quit. 10 drivers left at the end of this race. It was definitely half the lobby. There was 20 at the start. Brilliant.